Hey everybody, welcome back for another episode of HR Famous. It's Tim Sackett. And I got my boy back. I got the original OG, Chris Dunn, in the house. KD, how you doing?
I'm good. It's good to be back. I spoke at Michigan Recruiters Conference. What an amazing lineup that was. And, I shared the fact that I had been bounced just without ceremony out of HR
Yeah.
Famous and that Madeline Lorano was in the crowd. And I said, legal action pending.
You're out, right? Well, hey, we got you back. We know
It's
you.
good.
We know you had to. You got the new job, big job. Had to take some time, focus on that, and now you feel like you got your feet underneath you, so you can come, do all this fun stuff.
Do I? I thought I was just responding to your invite, but okay. Enough said.
Well, you know how it is. So, KD, we haven't really changed the format. You know how it is. We talk about kind of all the modern stuff that's in the news, anything that's out there. And right now, everyone seems like the world is falling apart. Layoffs constantly. That's what we're hearing. Now, it's mostly tech layoffs, right? Like I just read something this morning like Google hasn't laid anybody off yet, but like all those workers are kind of getting scared. Um, but we haven't really seen a bunch of layoffs in like other parts of the economy. Obviously, you guys at Marriott are still hiring like crazy, trying to find more people. What's going on? What's going on with the layoff stuff?
Well, I can't speak necessarily to other companies. I know, we're hiring strong at Marriott. Any tech talent that's looking for a home, I know you'll share my contact information, my LinkedIn in the notes. I'm a recruiter by trade, Tim. So call me. We'd love to hear from you. And I think everybody's heart goes out to people that are impacted by layoffs. I think the big thing related to layoffs in the rest of the world really depends on, are we in a recession now? If so, if your business is still really thriving, you're probably, I think what we see, Tim, I think we see any type of economic strife like post pandemic, just like it was in the pandemic, I think we see different industries impacted in different ways.
Yeah.
And I think it's never been truer. That was probably true like in 2008, 2009, right? Some industries do better. It seems like it's more true now. So I think it's, it depends how you're doing. I think one of the things that's interesting to me is, are we in a recession now? If so, if your industry is doing good, you're probably going to continue to thrive. And then do we expect, if we were in a recession or are in a recession and we come out of it, do we expect a double dip recession? If you listen to some of the economists and some of the people that, have strong opinions on this, that's out there.
Yeah.
But the tech side, candidly, if you look at, what's going on at Twitter, I think, it just comes down to how rapidly did you mount up headcount in the late teens and even through the pandemic based on your business,
Mm-hmm.
and where are you at right now with that? And the tech world really seems to be going through that right now.
Well, I definitely want to talk about Twitter. Before that, I got some stats for you.
No,
So,
I love stat. This is stat of the day from
well,
Tim
yeah,
Sackett.
I got a couple of them. Like,
Ah,
September, which is the most kind of like BLS stats, 10.72 million jobs opened in the US. That's down from a high in March that was like 11.8, but definitely higher than it was pre-pandemic. And then unemployment right now at 3.7. They think it'll tick up maybe by the end of the year, be 3.9. And then they have like this forecasted unemployment rate in the United States when you take a look from like 2020 to 2032. And then, again, this is BLS, and this is based on obviously a lot of data around demographics and stuff like that. So they take a look at really 2023 to 2025, really to 2026 being at 4% or under, but then being in the low fours all the way till 2023 or 2032, sorry. um, which to me is amazing when you think about like the reality is that's when we take a look at demographics, there's just we don't are not making enough people. And again, we haven't like the immigration
Right.
side, we haven't brought people in. So it's like I get that there's layoffs, and I get that people are telling us. Well, I think the White House said there's no recession, right? But then they redefined what recession was, Katie.
Well,
Um,
yeah. I mean, I
so
think there's different definitions. Yeah, for
different
sure.
definitions out there. So the administration doesn't feel like we're in a recession, but I think a lot of people see the inflation numbers and go, "Holy crap! I don't know what this is." It might not be called a recession, but I just had this conversation last night with Cameron. He's back from New York for the holidays, and was like, he was commenting on the difference in grocery prices between New York City and Michigan,
Hmm.
and still talking about even obviously Michigan's lower, but it was still higher than what he thought. But then New York is obviously insane. But he actually was talking about the prices of milk and how like it's so funny to have young like we both have boys of this age that they're actually like they actually are feeling the pain of milk prices going up, $1, 50 over the last year or whatever that might be.
Yeah.
Um,
Is it feeling pain, or is it just the fact that you're a parent with kids in their mid 20s and now they've just become aware, right?
it's probably
It's like
awareness.
the matrix has gone on and they're like they notice prices in a way that they never did. Hey, one story for you, Tim, just about our boys is I have like a kind of a rising senior in college. He's done a co-op in engineering
Yeah,
and he's looking for what's next, wants to go to like a full-fledged software shop to kind of round out his experience. And one of the interesting things was a lot of the data in terms of like recession, a lot of the noise about it also reached him to the point where he kind of jogged down the hill with a lot of different options in front of him. He called me a couple of weeks ago and really he jogged down the hill to accept the offer that he thought he was going to accept rather than like playing it out because he was concerned about the recession. He was concerned about those those internship jobs going away and he wanted to be one of the first ones in if that company like started sorting if they had to go
yeah,
to half the interns.
yep.
He wanted to be the first one in or be early rather than late, and he went ahead and made a move to try and secure a spot. So I thought that was interesting as well. That's another like type of awareness for kids kind of coming of age.
Yeah, no doubt. Like, I mean, but it hasn't been that way for so long. I think these kids, like, especially, software, electrical engineering type kids, like, they pretty much had their pick and choose. They could wait to the last minute. They were going to have great job offers, all of that. Now they're going to have to get a bit more. My thing on the tech layoffs for me is, I think it's a good thing for these companies that it's like for so long, Katie, we've been told that if you have a tech startup that you don't really it's not about making money, right? It's about spending money as fast as you can, about getting users, and then that's going to turn into value. And you and I are old school. We both kind of look at that and go, "All right, yeah,
Right.
I guess, right? Okay, you're like Tesla at one point was a 1.2 trillion dollar company, even though there's no with their revenue, there's no way they were actually that. But you're talking about stock value and everything else. And I just think these companies acted like that for so long that like coming back down to earth a little bit and saying, "Hey, you actually have to make money, right? Like real money. Like you can't just go and keep spending money thinking that somehow that turns into money. Like that's not really how that works." So it's almost like a re-education of an entire generation that grew up with, oh, you just go get more private equity or VC, or you just, and you just spend it and then you go out and get another round. And we see these companies that, it's like, oh, what round are you? And they're like, oh, we're on our F round.
Right.
And they just keep getting more and more money to the point where the value of the money they've taken and spent that company will never be worth that. And so you're upside down in terms of a value. And then you're like, oh, so now we have to start making money. We have to start actually having revenue and our expenses be less than, what our revenue is.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and the Federal Reserve rate, money's been free for a long time, like, in the backstop of all this, and it's not anymore.
Yep.
That impacts it as well. Hey, one of the other things in terms of not having enough people, that's part of the the recession conversation. If you want a job, you can get a job. The question is going to be what type of job can you get, like based on where the economy's at. One of the stats you didn't share that I shared at Michigan Recruiters is I did share the 3.7 number, right, of unemployment, the
Yeah.
new number.
Yep.
Ticked up a little bit, like at the time I shared it, which was like, 2 to 3 weeks back. It had ticked up from 3.5 to 3.7, but the actual number of people in the workforce, I think it's like 25 through 54 years old, actually went down. So
Yeah.
the unemployment rate went up, but the number of people actually in the workforce trickled down a little bit. And that's back to your point. Do we have enough people? Which gets into a lot of things related to immigration policy and things like that that I don't know enough about. But we do know that we need more people in recruiting
Yeah.
everywhere. And I think when when you're in the tech industry, the question is going to become whatever that job was at Facebook or Meta now, I guess is what it's called, the job at Twitter. Can you find the similar job doing the same type of work and the same level of work in the economy? I don't know that. I'm not an expert, but I do know that we're growing our tech workforce. And look me up. It's Chris with a K. Chris Dunn, Chris with a K. Look me up on LinkedIn, and if you happen to stumble upon this, reach out. I'm a recruiter, Tim. I have to pitch.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no doubt. So our boy Elon bought Twitter finally, closed the deal, went in, immediately just started changing stuff,
Right,
laying people off, and then we like you and I are both like Twitter users. We have been like from way back, so
right.
we've been into it around. We get a lot of our news off of Twitter, all of that kind of stuff. It seems like every single thing I read, Katie, is that Twitter is minutes away from imploding and it's just going to shut down, and we're going to see the return of the fail whale. Remember the fail whale?
Yeah.
Um,
Circa 2010, 2011.
yeah, like every time like the Twitter thing would bomb out or you couldn't get your tweet off, you'd have this little fail whale thing, and people were fine with a fail whale. They were just like, "Oh crap, okay, I'll try it
I'll
again."
reload. Yeah, I'll reload. Whatever. Yeah,
you know, it's like, yeah, okay, it'll be back. And yet I don't know if I've seen zero disruption on Twitter.
agree. And for all of the drama about Twitter's going to fail and crash, here's a general rule of mine, Tim.
Yeah.
It's just a rule I kind of live by. If
Yeah.
you are an individual who like went from blowing up like primitive rockets in the South Pacific 17 years ago to landing rocket segments on barges, like if you're that guy or gal and you say you're going to do something, I generally don't bet against you. That's just a
Yeah.
rule. That's a general rule of thumb in my life is if you land rockets on small barges in a rolling ocean and you say you're going to do something, I'm kind of wait and see. I'm not like calling out that you're going to fail in whatever it is you're trying to do
Yeah.
with your new venture.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, besides SpaceX, the dude disrupted the entire automotive industry. Like he actually
Right.
changed the
Of
entire
course.
automotive industry that's been around for 100 years.
Kind of created the EV segment
Oh, I mean, yeah. I
as a
mean,
market.
forever, all of the big manufacturers have been trying to just basically take a combustion engine, rip out the engine, and throw in some kind of electrical engine and try to make it work. He was the first one to say you actually have to build an electrical car from the ground up, right? And actually build it as an electrical vehicle, not just try to replace the innards of that component. And that's really changed the entire dynamic of how electrical vehicles are built. But same thing, like the bad, like obviously this guy's not doing this on his own, but he's leading and hiring smart people and getting it done. He's got a vision. He goes after it. He spends the money, and he has a vision to make Twitter profitable. And you might not like it that he says, "Oh, I need to go and lay off 75% of the staff to make it profitable." But he made a what $44 million bet or $1 billion bet that he can make it profitable.
Yeah.
And
And I think, yeah, Tim, I think like, a lot of the like short-term outcomes from Musk related to management are really hard, and they go against both you and I are like HR people,
Yeah.
like at heart. Like I do TA now because I love the TA part better than anything in HR. You're kind of the same with the company you run. Would we do it like Elon like has done it? No, we wouldn't. But there's a bunch of like hidden messages in there. I think the best thing I heard this past week was, obviously there have been a lot of layoffs, and I hope all of those people land. But he's also, I think, culturally trying to reset to something that's really focused on merit and performance. And the last thing he did, I thought this was a great point by some of the guys and gals or what have you, the team at the All In podcast. One of the references they made, and I don't know if you saw this last week, he did like an email, it was probably like an Office 365 form, and he said Twitter is going to become like a really hard place to work.
Yeah.
You're going to have to be like fully focused. If you're in, like, sign here,
Yeah.
like fill out the form. And it's almost like a declaration. And like from an HR perspective, you and I wouldn't do that. But the thing I heard that was great to remember, and all the HR people who listen to this podcast will remember this, and correct, like help me if I get the name wrong. Zappos founder Tony Hsieh, right?
Yeah.
Is it Hsieh?
Yeah.
So like everybody just has to remember that Tony Hsieh was the darling of our industry back in, I guess, 11, 12, 13, when he would pay money to people to leave. He would give like call center people $3,000 to $5,000 to leave if they didn't think the company was for them.
Yeah.
So we celebrated Tony Hsieh
Yeah.
for doing that because it's actually like a really good thing. And in many ways, Musk is doing something similar. It just so happens that he's in this kind of sea of change. He's doing it probably with a much harder edge than any of us would recommend. But the OD stuff in the background of all that, it's like, hey, you're either in or you're out. And if you're not, I got a great package for you. That is Tony Hsieh,
Yeah.
RIP, by the way,
Yeah.
101, right?
Oh, for sure. No, and like the other story was, Musk sending out like, hey, if you actually write code, I'm going to be in the office like till like, midnight tonight and then back tomorrow morning. This is like on a Friday, Saturday. He's like, come in the office right now, fly here to San Francisco. And like people lost their minds. But again, that's him testing to see who's in.
I also saw an email. I saw an email where he sent out, "Hey, if I'm walking around, just expect to do a impromptu code review."
Yeah.
And that's in some ways crazy. In some ways, man, just like I think it gets everybody's best work. So again, hard edges, but from a organizational transformation perspective, we wouldn't do it the way he's doing it. But if you really look deeply at it and objectively, there's some things that are really designed to make it a much more performance-based like organization. And by the way, we should note he's trying to do it with fewer people. And layoffs are never great, but I think I did a stat. I think I texted you on this when he did the initial like round of layoffs. It went to burn rate, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was. I'm forgetting now. I think it was like 4 to 6 million a day.
Yeah,
burn rate.
They were literally losing hundreds of millions of dollars per quarter.
Yeah, so some of this just comes down to business economics. And to your point, you talked about burn rate earlier and the cost of capital. But I think based on the move he did, and it's a hard move to make, he slashed his burn rate by 75%. And again, I'll just frame it up this way. We wouldn't do it the way that he did it. But if you look at it, a lot of hard decisions to be made. You're seeing the same thing now with Meta.
Yep.
You're seeing rumors about Google just related to, are they feeling pressure? And I think, there's a lot of pressure on all of those tech companies to think about like where they're at right now with their burn rates, to your earlier point.
Yeah, I mean, Katie, you and I have talked about that. Like, these are not startup companies. These are mature companies. They've been around for 20 years.
For sure.
You no longer can act like you're a startup in terms of your burn, and just blow through money and never make money. Like, at some point, you have to mature and you have to like turn into an actual profitable business, or you're going to die. And so again, I guess I go back to, I understand like what he's doing is like drastic in terms of culture change, but a lot of those companies, whether that's Twitter, Facebook, like that, that needs to happen at some point, or they're never go, or they're just going to go under. And we want to like just go and kill the messenger, but the reality is that was going to happen. So because of these times, right? And I think it was probably earlier this year at some point. I know and maybe it was even in 2021. At some point, we had talked about like the number of recruiter openings versus software engineering openings on LinkedIn, and it
Right.
became like this really big stat for like 2 weeks, right? Where at some point there was more recruiter openings than software engineering openings. I pulled that up today, by the way. It's not close.
Okay.
The number of software engineering openings is like 300,000 in the U.S., and the number of like recruiter openings is like 20,000.
Got it.
And so to think of a time when those number of openings were the same is weird, because the number of software engineering opens was nowhere close to what it is right now. But um, so we know we're going to have recruiters that get laid off. We saw this in the pandemic. We saw this in 08, 09. Like, so you and I have both, you obviously run a big TA team right now. We both run like recruiting shops in the past. I want to talk about which recruiters will not get laid off. Let's say from like a Twitter, from a Facebook, from a whatever. If we know like those layoffs are going to hit the tech space first, which recruiters are going to keep their jobs, which ones won't, from a trait standpoint? Because I think that's important for us to really realize that not all recruiters are going to lose their jobs. Some really, really good recruiters will lose their jobs, but the reality is companies are making decisions, and they're going to make them on the best recruiters, or the ones that have certain traits will keep their jobs over others. So Katie, we'll go back and forth. You give me one, I'll give you one, and we'll kind of keep going until we run out of the traits we think are important.
Well, I think, just to kind of like level set this, it's a tough question. The reality is your most valuable recruiters, it probably depends on what they're recruiting for, what your culture as a company is. So I'll frame it that way. And I'll
Sure.
say, first thing is, do you get positions closed? So if we're going to go back and forth, right?
Yeah.
There is a scoreboard of sorts to say overall effectiveness is measured in whatever like company you recruit for. It's like, how many positions do you close? I'll lead with that one, then I'll throw it to you.
Yeah. No, I love that, because I think ultimately
Recruiting to sales, right? How many
yeah,
closes did you get?
you have to fill positions. I will take it one step further in saying the difference between, can you actually fill a position with your own candidate, or you're going to
Hmm.
have to wait. So it's the outbound versus inbound skill set, right? If you right now, for the most part, you take a look at the last 10 fills you had, last 100 fills you had, whatever it is in your corporation, and you go, how many of those were somebody who applied to a job and I just processed through,
Right.
versus I actually went out and had a job and reached out to somebody and messaged them that never applied to us and got them to be interested in, and that's how we hired this person. That
Yeah.
different skill set of hunting versus farming, to me, is gigantic. Like, if I'm going to keep a recruiter, I'm going to need someone who actually knows how to hunt versus farm.
I don't know about you, but I don't know very many people that are hopeful about the world of work. And I'd like to change that. My name's Marcus Mossberger, and I started the Hope at Work podcast, where you'll find two things. Number one, really interesting guests. And number two, innovative ideas about the future of work. Check it out.
Yeah, especially with unemployment going, like really staying so low, and like work. I mean, what's the stat, Tim? It's like for every what is it? For every job that's open, or I'm sorry, for every candidate that would be on the marketplace, there's like two jobs.
Just about. Yeah, it's pretty close. It's a little bit under that now, but it's still like 1.7, right?
So the ability to do what you just described certainly is true. So I'm going to build on it as well. Kind
Yeah.
of like, hey, the recession-proof recruiter here. I think
Yeah.
the other thing is, how do you handle your hiring manager relationships? Do they see you? So, like, let's go through what we've already said. We said, um, I said, how many closes do you get? You're
Yep.
like, how many like original candidates do you put in the funnel with the value you're adding? Now I'll go to hiring manager relationships. How do you handle updates? How do you show them the funnel? How do you help them and influence them to move fast, but also show the value of the candidates you're adding to the funnel? And, we talk a lot about like talent and recruiting advisors.
Yeah.
It's part art and part science. But I think the biggest thing, you could do updates and you could say, where you at, where you at, where you at, how can I help you? But to your point, if you throw in candidates that you specifically tell somebody that you found that didn't apply, I think the smartest recruiters do that, because I think when you do that, it just shows a hiring manager that you're in it in a much um, like deeper way, if
Yeah.
you will.
No, I mean, your ability to communicate what you're actually doing in a really constructive way that doesn't look like CYA, right? Some recruiters will say, "Oh, well, all I'm doing then is like covering my ass, to communicate out to a hiring manager, so they know." Like, but you be able to sit there and say, "Hey, I'm going to communicate to what I'm doing because it actually helps the process. It
Right.
actually makes you more informed. It gives you a higher level of confidence and trust that I know what I'm doing." To me is a really great skill to have, and I totally agree with you on that. To me, I think another trait that I would ask, it's funny because I went from, hey, you need to be a stone cold killer hunter versus a farmer, but I also think you need to be a generalist within the function. So you have to have some recruitment marketing knowledge and background. You might want to know how to run your programmatic advertising or branding or your career site, or be a super user of your tech stack, right? No, be the best user of your ATS or whatever that might be. Those skill sets, because when you have fewer people on the team, you're going to have someone obviously that can recruit, but you still have this operational side of the world, right? That has to keep going. And so you need people that actually have really dug into that side of it as well. So I think we go through how many you're closing, can you really do it? HM, relationship communication, and then I got the last one, which is, hey, are you a generalist within recruiting in terms of
Hey,
all these other pieces, right?
and I know we're going to wrap up here in a second. I want to like reply to that and say that's right. You got to be a generalist. I'll give you a quick story.
Yeah,
Big recruiting organization that I'm a part of now. I saw someone in the ranks recruiting that, out of like hundreds of recruiters, I had not had a chance to meet yet.
yeah,
And I knew that she was active just on LinkedIn telling the story. And she had a post go viral. And I'm like, oh my goodness, who is this person? And I think, that's part of the general skill set. You mentioned like employer brand. She's telling the story. She's obviously got a system, and she's systematic about how she does it in ways that other recruiters aren't. So if you line up 10 attributes, that's one, but it's one that matters. And when you're doing things that other people can't or won't do, and this is true in any functional area, you're like, that kind of matters. Last thing I got for you,
yeah,
I'll give you one more. Is it also like, how do you handle candidates? Like, I think the higher up the food pole or the food chain you go related to, the salary level and the career level you're recruiting for, your ability to do some of the things we've already talked about, but also like have like candidates think that you have their best interest at heart. Even if you're trying to close the door, you always like approach it with that lens. I think over time, over the course of a year or two, that naturally gets back to hiring managers and to recruiting leaders. And you kind of know like who has like 25 or 30 compliments from candidates that they didn't have to find you to give. And that matters a lot. By the way, that's probably, I mentioned, hey, stack of 10 attributes. We've gone
yeah,
through 5 or 6 of them. That's probably another one.
yeah, no doubt. I will say, and we'll get off on this one. To me, it's a visibility factor. And so, does that mean like you have to be in the office? No, it doesn't. You can be remote and have all these attributes that we've talked about, but you still have to be very visible, right? And we tend to
Hustle.
see remote
It's
recruiters being less visible with all the different ranks, all the different people that you might come in contact with. And so I think that's important. And we see this again with these tech layoffs and people coming back. Was it Salesforce? They just came out and said like, hey, return to the office. When we were in Michigan, right? GM had come
I
out and
didn't
said,
see
hey,
that. Okay.
we're going to return to the office. And like, there's a bunch of them out there that are doing this return to office stuff. And people are going to be upset with that or not upset with that. But there's when times get tough, visibility becomes like a huge kind of factor. The last one I would say would be likability. If I'm a TA leader and I have to surround myself with people I'm going to work with, and there's fewer people, if you're an asshole, I'm probably not going to keep you around, no matter how good of a recruiter you are.
For sure.
Just because I don't want to have fewer people to work with and have those not be people that I can actually get along with.
Tim,
Yeah.
it's interesting. A lot of these factors we're talking about could be applied to, not all of them, but a lot of them could be applied. Like half of what we've
Yeah.
talked about could be applied to any functional area.
Yeah.
Just related to,
Recession-proof your career, right, Katie?
you're talking like you're framing it from the lens of, making yourself layoff proof. I'll just say, like stack ranking from a performance perspective, if you did that, all of these factors would be there. I think half or more apply to any functional area, not just recruiting.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. That's what we got, everybody. That's he's Chris Dunn. Was it senior vice president? Like, what's the title now? I can't.
Titles don't matter in our organization, Tim. Just
Nice.
I'm
You're the
I'm
global
a
TA leader.
I'm a member of the talent acquisition recruiting team. That's
Who's
how
just,
I like to
just
frame it.
trying to get more people to apply, right?
Just trying to like get the best people into our organization, and that's what everybody does. Yeah, so that's
All right.
it. I'm just a recruiting guy,
All
Tim.
right. Yeah. Hey, we love having you back on the show. We're gonna get you back more now that
Which
this.
are famous. Hey, what I want, I'll end with this. What I want is I want to be a reporter in the field. I want to have the earpiece in, and I
Yes.
want to be remoting in from somewhere
Perfect.
for the HR famous team. Like
All
bring
right.
me in for 5 minutes.
Yep.
Get some hot takes, reporting from a corporate office park, and that's how we'll do it. So it's great to see you, Tim.
From the campus in Maryland.
No, I won't do it related to my own organization. I'll be like independent reporting
Nice.
from somewhere else. Lots of opportunity there, though.
All right. Hey, that's KD. I'm Tim Sackett. That's another episode of HR Famous. Till next time, we are out.